Okay. We can begin. Yeah. Okay. Now, what you see here is, at least in summer or in the fall, one of the nicest views of Ljubljana. It looks like Paris, green leaves, etc. On both sides, nice old houses, nothing special. But you are wrong. This river here is the official geographical limit between Balkan and Middle Europa. So beware. On the other side, horror, Oriental despotism, women get beaten, get raped and like it. On this side, Europe, civilization, women get beaten and raped but don't like it. So, Balkan, Middle Europa, don't forget it. When we published the book on Hitchcock, when they invited me to Berkeley, to California, they told me that they invited me, friends of me, because they wanted to prove to people there that I really exist. Namely, the legend in Berkeley was that this is a practical joke played by some French intellectuals who invented Slovenia and that we do not exist at all. So people were really shocked there that we really exist. I mean, the idea for them of, because for them Slovenia was something like, you know, Balkan, the idea was very primitive people, etc. So the idea that a highly sophisticated book on Lacan and Hitchcock is written in Slovenia, so it's only in this way. Tell me what you want. So you want me to appear to reflect, give me, you know what I mean, give me stupid. Don't tell me, do as you do my lecture, because I don't do lectures at all this way. Tell me in the most stupid behavioral way. You want me to appear what? To think a little bit, to write a couple of words?
To type a sentence, then have a break and think, and then type again.
Okay, yes, that's what I want. Yeah.
Seems to be a rather poor place to work for a professor in Columbia University. Are you satisfied with it?
Yes, I am, because I want to be ascetic. I mean, I hate professors who play professors, who believe that they really are professors. You know Lacan's definition of a madman, which is that it's not only a beggar who thinks he is a king, but also a king who thinks he is a king. So again, the point is that I also try not to take myself as a professor. I think at that time that I would believe that I really am what I take myself to be. It would be madness. Maybe I'm a little bit of a psychotic, because in America this happens all the time to me. This is the psychotic attitude, you know. What I found so disgusting in America is how this false camaraderie of solidarity of waiters. If you were in New York, you know how is it in New York. If you go to low-class Greenwich Village restaurant, the waiter practically embraces you. How are you today? Did you have a nice time? Hi, my name is John, etc. Now, I made a mistake. This is one step towards psychosis. When the waiter told me, hi, my name is Joe, how are you today? I took the question seriously. I said, not too bad, I had a bad night, etc. And then you should have looked, you should have perceived the expression of panic in the waiter. Is this guy crazy? No, I mean, you know.
Ich glaube, sagt Zizek, dass jeder Erfolg im Grunde aus einem Scheitern entsteht. So ist auch eine erfolgreiche Karriere in einem Beruf meist nur Ersatz für das, was man ursprünglich anderswo erreichen wollte. Ich glaube nicht an den Mythos einer Berufung. Wenn man davon überzeugt ist, für etwas Spezielles bestimmt zu sein, wird man zwangsläufig damit scheitern. Aber in diesem Scheitern liegt auch die Möglichkeit, etwas wirklich Bemerkenswertes zu tun. Dies weiß ich aus meiner eigenen Erfahrung. In meinen Jugendträumen wollte ich unbedingt Filmregisseur werden. Und da ich daran gescheitert bin, kann ich vielleicht mit Recht behaupten, dass ich meine jetzige Arbeit ganz gut mache. Als Filmregisseur wäre ich auf jeden Fall längst nicht so gut.
Slavoj Žižek ist Philosoph. Seine Lust gilt dem, was sich für einen Philosophen gerade nicht gehört. Dem Unmöglichen, dem Komischen, dem Drastischen. Das wussten wir, bevor wir ihn zum ersten Mal trafen. Trotzdem bringen uns seine manischen Redeströme gleich bei der ersten Begegnung aus der Fassung. Von Hegel stürzen wir zu Hitchcock, vom Krieg zur Kastration, vom Schokoladenkuchen zu Lacan. Verzweifelt versuchen wir, seinem rasenden Tempo zu folgen. Das soll Philosophie sein? Dass wir an den Extremen seiner Person mit den üblichen Methoden nur scheitern können, begreifen wir jedenfalls schnell. Doch vielleicht liegt gerade in diesem Scheitern der Weg, uns dem Phänomen Zizek zu nähern.
This is again typical New York, how it's not simply this part is rich, the other part is poor, it's intermixed. I mean, you can, for example, on the other side of Central Park, till the end of Central Park, it's very rich. Mm-hmm. It's very rich because some of our very rich friends live there, I mean, very high-class apartments. But then all of a sudden, 2-3 blocks only, and you're in the middle of Spanish Harlem. This is where I officially, I have an office. This is German department and other things.
On the other side of the street?
Yeah, this house directly there. The logic of death drive and artistic sublimation is always part of the male chauvinist myth of creativity and woman as your inspiration. I think that we all know from Klaus Teweleit his version, which is, of course, I think the correct one, of myth of Orpheus and Eurydice, and that Orpheus turned back intentionally. No, Orpheus' choice was, my God, if she really comes with me, where is my poetry then? I mean, I will just become a common husband. So the idea is, let's turn back so that then I can elevate her. Now, here we have death drive and sublimation. But I think when Wagner is speaking about feminine sacrifice, what he thinks a Wagnerian reading of it would be even more male chauvinist, would be that Eurydice intentionally, by coughing, etc., giving sound, provoked Orpheus to turn around. Eurydice loved him so much that she preferred to go back to hell so that to set free his creativity. And it's clear if you read Wagner's letters that this was Wagner's own myth of Mathilde Wesendonck. She sacrificed herself so that I was able to write Tristan und Isolde, to put it this way. No, this is the fundamental, at this level, the fundamental Wagnerian myth. Okay, maybe this is enough for today so that we leave 5 minutes for democracy. Thank you. I don't think that we have to look for some personal, psychological, whatever, key to my relationship, concerning my relationship to Lacan. What if it is the other way around, that it's not my personal life which is the key to my relationship to Lacan, it's my relationship to Lacan which is the key to my personal life, to put it this way. There is no secret behind.
Jacques Lacan, ein Name, der immer wieder fällt. Liegt darin tatsächlich der Schlüssel, von dem Zizek behauptet, er verschaffe uns Klarheit über seine Person?
Qui use de ça pour que le lien social entre être parlant, ça fonctionne. La mort est du domaine de la foi. Vous avez bien raison de croire que vous allez mourir, bien sûr. Ça vous soutient. Si on n'était pas solidement appuyé sur cette certitude que ça finira, est-ce que vous pourriez supporter cette histoire?
Der französische Psychoanalytiker Jacques Lacan revolutionierte das psychoanalytische Denken mit einer schlichten Parole: Rückkehr zu Freud. Doch kaum, dass sein Name fällt, streiten sich alle Geister. Sein schwieriger Stil und seine Vorliebe für kryptische Formeln haben dafür gesorgt, dass er bei vielen als elitär verschrien ist. Andere halten gerade dies für genial und hängen seinen Theorien uneingeschränkt an. Auch Zizek bekennt sich bedingungslos zur Lacanischen Gemeinde. Seine unverhüllte Liebe zu ihren Dogmen und Ritualen irritiert uns. Denn gerade er erklärt doch ihrem elitären Gehabe offen den Krieg und schimpft über jeden, der Lacan für unverständlich hält. Und gerade er versteht sich mit bestechender Schamlosigkeit darauf, die komplizierte Theorie mit Hollywood, Wagner und Politik zu entweihen.
I think that first, psychoanalysis, maybe it's not directly a philosophical theory, but it is, I claim, it's even more than a philosophical theory in a way for me. It is the theory about that which philosophy itself has to, okay, to use a psychoanalytic term, has to repress, has to render invisible in order to establish itself as a consistent theory. So in this sense, psychoanalysis is, okay, to use the Lacanian pun wordplay, the extimate center, intimate but at the same time decentered, extimate center of philosophy. In psychoanalysis, you get an insight into a kind of a crack, gap, distance, which philosophy itself must repress.
Ich denke, sagt Zizek, dass es Lacans Anliegen ist, die in der Psychoanalyse behandelten sogenannt pathologischen Grundhaltungen des Menschen, die Hysterie, die Zwangsneurose, die Perversion und die Psychose, in den würdigen Stand der Philosophie zu erheben. Pervers zu sein bedeutet für mich zum Beispiel, eine ganz bestimmte philosophische Position zu beziehen. Indem ich in der Perversion meine Beziehung zur Welt definiere, eröffnet sich dort eine ganze Seinslehre.
Have you studied psychoanalysis in a practical way? Have you ever been analyzed?
I was, yes, for long years, but I was never tempted to do it myself, to become a practicing analyst, for two very simple, even opposed reasons, partially opposed, but two very simple reasons. The first reason is that it's too much of responsibility, in the sense that when you really are in a relationship of transference with a patient, I mean, a wrong interpretation, even if it is true, but true as to the level of facts, but pronounced at the wrong time, can have catastrophic consequences. So I would simply worry too much. Did I push some patient to suicide, etc.? So that's the good ethical part. The bad non-ethical part is that I find so boring people making complaints, telling me their stories. I think that people are mostly not interesting, and I found it a kind of a living hell to be listening for hours to people's complaints. I prefer the Freudian way, I mean, what we have from Freud, you know, kind of a resume. You have, for example, Dora or Wolfman. I mean, you have in 70, 80 pages, you go through it in 2-3 hours, that's it. What we tend to forget is that for Freud himself, this was years, for 5 hours per week, years of work. So I simply, no, I cannot imagine doing it. This is the place where my mother lives, with the room with my books, a kind of Norman Bates mother's house. Here it is, the entrance. I don't want anybody to enter there. And
Why?
not because it's something there, but because what I want to have for me, for my work, is not some secret, but precisely a nothing, an empty place where nobody is allowed to enter. That's the point. It's not some secret there. It's basically an empty place. That is to say, of course, there are books inside, but these are books known by everyone. The point is that books are at this place. I feel very bad if I do not have such a place. The whole point is that it's half prohibited even to me. I don't like to work here.
How should we believe you that there are books behind the door?
But this is my point. If you do not believe it, it's even better because you are then full of doubt. You know, this is the true master. For example, for me, the true master is not a public person into whom you believe. The true master is like in Germany, Dr. Mabuse. It's a mysterious person. You do not know if he exists or not. But for that reason, he is even more horrible. The room that you can see back there on the first floor, the corner, two windows. This was the center of power in the old socialist regime because this was, how do I know, I was there a couple of times. This was the room, the bureau of the general secretary of the Communist Party. And sometimes even you can catch the gaze of the great man leaning on the window. Incidentally, the last secretary of the Communist Party, of course, is now a president of Slovenia. Published the first complete issue of our journal dedicated to punk. To punk with poems, texts, etc. And it was very risky, I remember, because up to the last moment it wasn't clear will it be permitted or not. And it was an issue of our journal. We printed it in, I think, 3,000 exemplars, larger than usual. And it was sold not in days, but in hours. It disappeared from the bookstores. You know, the moment rumors spread around that you can get it in bookstores, there were long lines, queues, and it disappeared immediately. It's only through punk movement that we had a real opposition. Before punk movement, it was just some narrow literary circles, no? Before 88, I think, or 87, dissidence in Slovenia was mainly, on the one hand, writers, etc., on the other hand, small civil rights groups, punk. It was already important, but there were small dispersed. Okay, we can begin. Okay, now what you see here is, at least in summer or in the fall, one of the nicest views of Ljubljana. It looks like Paris, green leaves, etc. On both sides, nice old houses, nothing special. But you are wrong. This river here is the official geographical limit between Balkan and Middle Europa. So beware, on the other side, horror, oriental despotism, women get beaten, get raped and like it. On this side, Europe, civilization, women get beaten and raped but don't like it. So, Balkan, Middle Europa, don't forget it. When we published the book on Hitchcock, when they invited me to Berkeley, to California, they told me that they invited me, friends of me, because they wanted to prove to people there that I really exist. Namely, the legend in Berkeley was that this is a practical joke played by some French intellectuals who invented Slovenia and that we do not exist at all. So people were really shocked there that we really exist. I mean, the idea for them of, because for them Slovenia was something like, you know, Balkan, the idea was very primitive people, etc. So the idea that a highly sophisticated book on Lacan and Hitchcock is written in Slovenia, so it's only in this way. Tell me what you want. So you want me to appear to reflect, give me, you know what I mean, give me stupid. Don't tell me, do as you do my lecture, because I don't do lectures at all this way. Tell me in the most stupid behavioral way. You want me to appear what? To think a little bit, to write a couple of words?
Maybe to type a sentence, then have a break and think, and then type again.
Okay, yes, that's what I want. Yeah.
This seems to be a rather poor place to work for a professor in Columbia University. Are you satisfied with it?
Yes, I am, because I want to be ascetic. I mean, I hate professors who play professors, who believe that they really are professors. You know Lacan's definition of a madman, which is that it's not only a beggar who thinks he is a king, but also a king who thinks he is a king. So again, the point is that I also try not to take myself as a professor. I think at that time that I would believe that I really am what I take myself to be. It would be madness. Maybe I'm a little bit of a psychotic, because in America this happens all the time to me. This is the psychotic attitude. You know, what I found so disgusting in America is how this false camaraderie of solidarity of waiters. If you were in New York, you know how is it in New York. If you go to low-class Greenwich Village restaurant, the waiter practically embraces you. How are you today? Did you have a nice time? Hi, my name is John, etc. Now, I made a mistake. This is one step towards psychosis. When the waiter told me, hi, my name is Joe, how are you today? I took the question seriously. I said, not too bad, I had a bad night, etc. And then you should have looked, you should have perceived the expression of panic in the waiter. Is this guy crazy? No, I mean, you know. To the original.
What are you doing in places like New York, for instance, or Paris? Just do your work? Holding your lectures?
No.
Writing? Reading?
Okay, I do walk around a lot. What I'm interested in is only going to cinema, buying video cassettes or records and buying books and just walking around to feel the everyday rhythm, the everyday pulse of the life, but not anything beyond that.
Ich befinde mich, sagt Zizek, mit Sicherheit auf der Seite der protestantischen Ethik. Wenn ich populäre Kultur einfach nur so genieße, fühle ich mich schuldig. Um es zu genießen, muss ich mir immer wieder sagen, dass es meiner Arbeit dient oder dienen wird. Ich habe eine starke innere Abneigung gegen diese katholische Haltung, die es einem erlaubt, sich am Leben einfach zu erfreuen. Ich denke, dass das Leben kompliziert sein muss, selbst wenn es nötig ist, sich die Probleme zu erfinden. Wenn man das Leben einfach so genießen kann, ist es nicht lebenswert.
If you distinguish in your life essential from inessential things, if you say, okay, my countryside is essential, I sacrifice everything for it, you are a pre-modern subject. You know what is subject at its purest? This pure arbitrariness. For example, my son, when did I discover that my own son, okay, I doubt if he is human, he is not human, but he is subject. When I took him, we were once in Vienna from Slovenia, it's close, 6 hours train ride on a holiday, and my son says, we passed a certain store, I want that chocolate cake, because it was very nice, you know, white and black, etc., the real one. In Vienna they know how to do it. So he said, I want this. I told him, but listen, you can have them tomorrow, more of them. I told him, now we must go, because I wanted to go at another place. I told him everything will go wrong. We will miss the train. I give you double the money. He said, no, I don't care. I want this cake now. And I asked him, but does it really mean so much to you? He said, no, the point is not this. The point is that I want it. You know, this is subject. This is subject. I hate it incredibly. I hate lectures, for example. It's so traumatic for me. Usually the day before I had to deliver a lecture, I sleep bad. I hate it. I enjoy far more seeing my work printed. I know I just want to get over with it as soon as possible. I mean, this is the moment when I'm most glad, when it's over, after a lecture. This is the true nightmare. Sylvester Stallone, Jack Lang, supposed to fight the influence of American culture, but he gave to Sylvester Stallone, I think even Légion d'honneur, some big medal. Good that socialists lost power in France. Nightmare, I hate him. I think that there is a class struggle with these guys. I always like a good guy and a bad guy. Schwarzenegger is the good guy, he is the bad guy of this one. So against him, let's go on, not this one. I hate this kind of pseudo-postmodern comedy. Should be prohibited. Snobbish. What's this? Don't know what this is. I hate it. It's pseudo avant-garde. I hate it. Forget about it. It's a nice, obscene idea, but I hate it also. This is nice because I don't have any idea what it is about. This is pseudo-social criticism. This is as close as you can get to Brecht in New York or in Hollywood. It's very Brechtian, done in a mocking, self-ironic way. I think it will be a failure. But I think, again, that the problem is, can something which is done in a Brechtian way succeed on the American market? I think it absolutely cannot. So this one is out. Now I'm even regressing from films to commercials. More and more I admire, why? Not that I take them seriously as a work of art or whatever, but a lot of times in good commercials, a certain very elementary ideological mechanism, or how fantasy space functions, etc., is illustrated. For example, recently in England, I was happy enough to be early there to see a perfect commercial which I think explains what Lacan means when he says there is no sexual relationship. No, I think it's now rather famous commercial. It begins as an old story, well-known fairy tale anecdote, a girl walking along the stream, girl sees a frog, girl takes the frog in her hand, kisses her, frog turns into a beautiful man. No, but what happens then? The story goes on in this commercial. The man looks at the girl, covetous, gaze full of desire, kisses her, and she turns into a bottle of beer. This would be it. That is to say that for the woman, the man, ugly frog of a man, she sees in him something more, the ideal partner, full presence. What the man sees in the woman is just the cause of desire, what Lacan calls Objekt kleines a, the object small a. And Lacan's point is that what we never have is a beautiful man and a beautiful woman together. We have either a woman with a frog or a man with a bottle of beer. Maybe the ideal couple would be the frog embracing the bottle of beer, no. But there is one possibility, although of kind of phantasmatic harmony here. It is that, as we all know, the man fantasizes about being in bed with another woman. This is the obsessional fantasy. The hysteric fantasy is not fantasizing that I am in bed with another man, but that I am not the one who I am. So if two illusions overlap, if the man thinks he is screwing the bottle of beer, and if the woman fantasizes that she is the bottle of beer, then maybe that can be some kind of phantasmatic overlapping.
You like very much to entertain people, just using examples and putting things on a very clear level with your examples. Is there a connection between your former wish to become a cinema director?
Maybe, but on the other hand, I consider this a bad part of myself. How should I put it? This is something to be psychoanalyzed, I think even. Because, why do I want to entertain people? Because what I am all the time, I have a strange lack of confidence in theory. I'm always afraid that if I follow the pure theoretical line of reasoning, people will get bored, etc. But on the other hand, I don't like to do it. I do it against my will, against my better instincts. How should I put it? It's very ambiguous, this. If all x are submitted to x, there must be one x, which precisely is not submitted to x. On the other side, the feminine logic, non-all are submitted to x, but this non-all does not lead to the notion of exception. Quite on the contrary, since non-all are submitted to x, there is none which is not submitted to x. Okay, now you will say, who is your first reaction, and it should be, it is a proper reaction, is, of course, who is math here? I mean, what has this to do with sexuality?
Hello, Sky. Hello, birds. Hello, sheep. Isn't it a beautiful day? Hello, Mr. Frog. I bet that if I were to give you a kiss, you'd turn into a handsome sheep shearer.
Another way to understand Lacan's point about there is no sexual relationship is that we do not have some kind of basic, fully instinctual relationship. I just grab you, we do it, and then if this doesn't work in a perverse way, we have recourse to masquerades, to fantasies, etc. That sexuality as such in itself is a kind of pervert masquerade. Which is why my other favorite example is, it's a racist myth about Italians. Probably it's not true, it doesn't matter. The structure is what matters to me. The idea is that Italian men, who are proverbial good lovers, supposed to be, while they are doing it, they like their wife or mistress, their partner, to whisper them on their into their ear during the sexual act itself, obscenities about what she was doing with another man, with her lover or whatever. I think that this is the structure of sexuality as such. Even while you are really doing it in most immediate passionate contact, you need a phantasmatic support. And I think the more this support becomes visible in the sense that it's part of the explicit manipulation of the sexual game, the closer we are, let me put it this way, to the truth of sexuality. Sexuality has nothing to do with some kind of let us go to pure passions. No, this is what lesbian sadomasochists know at its purest form. Sexuality is a matter of business. Culture is a matter of passions. Sexuality is a matter of contract, of negotiations, which is why we all like it.
What would happen if you only make this theoretical point without using an example?
I put it this way. At the theoretical level, I will give you a brief answer. I think that, okay, as a Christian, I'm speaking to you now, you should be burned for this. This is wrong. This is the same as saying, why did God also present his truth through the Son? No? Hegel says. Because usually your question would be associated with the Hegelian attitude, pure thought, why not pure thought? No, as Hegel says, the only way for Christianity to work is, it's not enough to say what God's teaching is. You need what Hegel calls Christ as the absolute example. Or, as Schelling puts it, in a different way, at a slightly different level, no Geist without Geisterwelt. My point is that examples are not simply attached to illustrate. They are inherent to the theory itself in this way.
But there are not many philosophers who do it this way. Lacan even didn't do it.
He does more than it may appear, but there is one philosopher who does it all the time. It's Hegel.
And you?
Yeah, but okay, let's say that I still, with all my megalomania, I would still say that Hegel is somewhere up there above me. Hegel is like the camera I'm looking at now, I mean.
In Slowenien, sagt Žižek, hat die Popkultur, auf die wir uns beziehen, eine klare politische Identität. Wenn man in Slowenien sagt, ich mag Hitchcock, dann heißt das, man ist linksliberal. Für die rechten Populisten dagegen ist Hollywood ein rotes Tuch. Dieser Anti-Amerikanismus ist bei uns ein typisches Merkmal der politisch Rechten. Aus diesem Grunde haben wir schon immer, zumindest mit einer bestimmten Form von Hollywood, sympathisiert. Damit machten wir politisch eindeutig klar, wir sind genauso für Freiheit wie die anderen, aber wir lassen uns auf keinen Fall auf ihren rechtsnationalistischen Diskurs ein.
The area we are standing now is interesting, famous, not for what happened here, but for what did not happen here, but almost happened. During the brief armed conflict, so-called war, after Slovenia proclaimed independence, this area here, this is the building of Slovene TV and radio, was to be heavily bombed by the Yugoslav army. The bombers were already on the way. In the last minute, some mid-level officers stopped it. So this area, because here is the main TV, behind it it's the main electricity distributing place, this area was to be destroyed. So hopefully it didn't happen. It's famous for what did not happen here, but almost happened.
Als Slowene stammt Žižek aus einem Land, dem es gelungen ist, sich vom Gemetzel auf dem Balkan abzugrenzen. Sein Blick auf Bosnien ist also der eines nahen, aber doch unbeteiligten Nachbarn. So betont er auch immer wieder, kein Experte in Sachen Jugoslawien zu sein. Trotzdem scheut er nicht den Versuch, diesem Krieg mit Hilfe psychoanalytischer Denkmuster auf die Spur zu kommen. sind es doch neben Hollywood und Hegel vor allem ideologische Phänomene, an denen er seine Liaison mit Freud und Lacan immer wieder erprobt.
The particular case of violence which found universal appeal in the media is, of course, the war in Bosnia. One of the recurrent motives of the media is compassion with the victims. What's the role of this compassion? Why this compassion? The problem of the West, of the big media, was how to show compassion, but while precisely by showing compassion, avoiding the identification with this horrifying gaze of the other, in other words, maintain a proper distance. I think that the whole point of compassion is that it allows you breathing space, it allows you a kind of patronizing distance towards the other. If you say, isn't it horrible to see the kid whose leg was blown apart with a Serbian bomb on a Sarajevo street, okay, this is still nothing against it, pure shock. But the logic of solidarity is not this. The logic of solidarity is, isn't it nice to be touched with millions of other people with the scene of a kid whose leg was blown apart, so that the true point is not you and the poor kid. The true point is your identification with all of other people who feel good precisely by being solidary. This is, as it were, the constitutive life in this solidarity, which is why I think that, it's even more complicated here. Another element to add is how, to what extent, precisely as victims par excellence, the people of Sarajevo already developed a kind of narcissistic satisfaction in the sense that they are elevated to the, how should I call it, sublime post of being a victim par excellence. So that they liked it very much, they enjoyed very much the idea that they are on the center stage of the world, they are center of attention. So,
isn't this a very, very cynical position to claim that the people in Sarajevo enjoy their suffering?
I wouldn't say it's cynical, I would rather say it's ironical, and I think cynicism and irony should be opposed strictly. It would be cynical if this would mean, you see, they are not really suffering, they are really enjoying it effectively. If you approach it in an ironic way, it's the opposite. The fact that they find a kind of perverted satisfaction, narcissistic satisfaction in it, makes it even more tragic. Or to use an example from a different domain where we have to make the same distinction, let's say that a woman is raped, and let's say that while she is raped, it can happen, she is at the same time at least minimally sexually aroused. Now, the male chauvinist cynicism would be, of course, you see, it's not really a rape, she secretly enjoyed it. I think the proper feminist thing to do, it's not to deny the enjoyment, but to say this makes it even more tragic, this makes it even more horrible.
Would you really claim she enjoys it? It is possible to enjoy it.
Okay, I mean, what I know from reports of women. I'm not claiming to read woman's mind, but as to the last part of your question, is it possible to enjoy it? I claim that there definitely is impossible to enjoy it. That's the whole lesson of psychoanalysis, that you can enjoy your pain, you can enjoy your humiliation. I mean, the whole psychoanalytic Freud's revolution is based on this, that there is not a kind of a healthy, non-perverted, clean enjoyment, and then it's perversions. That this possibility of perversion, where you enjoy, how should I put it, in a politically incorrect way, is part of the very concept of enjoyment.
Auch auf den Balkankrieg antwortet uns Zizek also mit Lacan und macht dabei vor drastischen Überspitzungen nicht Halt. Ohne zu zögern erklärt er den Krieg zum Phantasma des Westens und sagt, dass sich auf dem Balkan nur das Unbewusste Europas austobt. Darüber kann man streiten. Doch vielleicht zeigt sich gerade darin das Ziel, das Zizek mit seiner ganzen Arbeit verfolgt. Um starre Sichtweisen zu sprengen, treibt er seine Thesen bedingungslos auf die Spitze und setzt alles auf die Kraft der Provokation. Und damit hat er, wie wir an uns selbst merken, durchaus Erfolg.
Lacan's point is that you are radically responsible. You are responsible even for what you are not aware of that you were doing. Lacan's position is very nice here, is to distinguish between meaning and enjoyment. At the level of meaning, you are, let's say, not guilty. Of course, for example, when I say to a woman, you dirty bitch, you whore, whatever, okay, I didn't invent this. But the moment I enjoy in it, the pleasure I find in it, for that I'm responsible. This is the, again, Protestant side of Lacan. And I think it even works politically. I kind of spontaneously subscribe to, for example, a racist beats you up. Okay, he can say, I didn't invent this, he can find an excuse in saying, this is just part of my culture, what can I do, I was born like this. No, but he does find enjoyment in it. For that he is responsible. For the enjoyment, you are fully responsible. And of course, the whole point of racist outbursts is that you do find enjoyment in them, and for that you are responsible. The radical Kantian position is that it's only yourself who authorizes yourself. This is, and again, you can see it's something very radical. Kant is not rigorist in the sense that you have absolute rules, you must obey them. No, you must even establish what the rules are. You are radically autonomous. You are responsible for moral rules themselves. And in this precise sense, for Lacan, when Lacan says that the only ethical rule admitted by psychoanalysis is do not compromise your desire. The only thing the subject can be guilty of is compromise his or her desire. What Lacan means is something along the same line, is that desire functions as a kind of a duty, in the sense, again, that you are fully responsible for it. You can never say, Lacan's position is here radically ethical. You can never say, sorry, I desire this. No, you are radically responsible for what you desire.
Ich denke, sagt Zizek, dass es schädlich ist, wenn man zu stark in Gruppen eingebunden ist. Die direkte Konfrontation mit der Kritik anderer ist das Ende jeder Theorie. Ich glaube, dass es auf eine gewisse Art notwendig ist, diese verzweifelte Geste zu machen und zu sagen, es ist mir egal, ich isoliere mich, es kümmert mich nicht, was andere Leute über mich denken. Denn wird eine Theorie, die man gerade entwickelt, zu früh mit möglichen Einwänden konfrontiert, kann es passieren, dass sie schon im Ansatz abgetrieben wird. Und hier zumindest bin ich gegen Abtreibung.
In one interview you said you support the claim that philosophy has to provide the answers to crucial questions of an epoch. And in this sense you are kind of old-fashioned
Okay, but probably
philosopher.
this was a kind of a standard wisdom. Okay, but what do you mean? Because this sounds so standard, bombastic. I must have been in a bad mood to say something so stupid. Because I'm even tempted to say the opposite. And this is a very nice phrase already invented probably by some other before, but basically I think, was it Durkheim? No, basically Levi-Strauss. When he says that true enigmas are not questions without answers, but answers without questions. You know, this is the famous Levi-Straussian definition of the prohibition of incest. He says, this is an answer to an enigma, to a question, but we don't know what the question is. What's the question to which, and this is, I think, what philosophers are doing. So I would just turn it around. Philosophers do not provide answers to big questions. We have the answers, we need the questions. Which is, incidentally, it may sound a bad witticism joke, but this is just another way to state the basic hermeneutical attitude. You have the answers, you need the horizon of questions. This is what philosophy is doing. This room is very secret. Practically nobody is allowed to enter it. I really hate people to enter this room. The more somebody is close to me, theoretically, personally, the more I resent them entering this room. I wouldn't mind a total foreigner to enter the room, just so that they don't disturb anything. But the more he or she is friendly, the more I detest it.
How about your wife?
Yes and no. I mean, of course, I cannot, unfortunately, we are unfortunately in so-called enlightened 20th century, I cannot prohibit it. She enters, but then I quickly try to follow her and say, what do you need to myself to give her what she wants, so that she wouldn't just look around and disturb the perfect order. Because this is the kind of ideal transneurotisches constellation. It looks confused. It is confused. But, for example, once, I don't remember, was it my son or my wife, they did look into some books. And they thought that, you know, they put it back precisely the way it was. They thought I wouldn't notice. I noticed it immediately, even in a Sherlock Holmes-like way. I gave them, I don't know even to whom, the exact, I deduced retroactively the exact order of what they did. I told them not only you were here, you took first that book back, then you put it back, then you discovered the mistake. I was able to deduce the entire chain of what they did here.
Dem Phänomen Zizek, so begreifen wir jetzt, liegen keine verborgenen Schichten zugrunde. Das Unbewusste liegt außen, sagt er mit Lacan, und tatsächlich zeigt sich alles, was er ist, laut und offen und klar. Und so machen wir uns einfach seine Definition philosophischer Arbeit zu eigen und sehen ihn als Antwort auf eine unbekannte Frage, die bei jeder Begegnung mit seiner Widersprüchlichkeit erneut gefunden werden muss.
According to Lacan, how is it possible that this alienation occurs, that we abstract ourselves from life world and perceive ourselves as abstract mathematical rational subject? Because there originally is a gap. There is something in us which resists full integration into the smooth functioning of life world. This exactly is the unconscious. So again, this is very radical paradox. What does it mean? Now again, in the style of these TV serials, what does it mean next week, same time? Right. Thank you. No, after, yeah, the other one is better. Yes. Yeah, after the 20th. After the 20th. Okay, thank you. Bye-bye. Okay, we survived it. We survived it. Drop dead. You see what hell is. No, I must go. I will before I drop down. I really hate it. I mean, this was too what I said there. You know that I'm really asking them to discuss, hoping that nobody will do it. I mean, this is what I hate most with the time.
Is there a life beyond Lacan for you? Without Lacan? Besides Lacan?
What do you mean by life?
Well, is there a Slavoj Žižek who is not involved in theory?
I put it this way. Now this is a crucial question. Of course there is, but my crucial point is the following one, that what is in me not yet swallowed, so to call it, durcharbeitet, by theory, this is the unimportant part. This is not the true me. That would be my point. Maybe it is, but this is not the true secret. What I don't accept is this attitude that there is some true kernel of your personality beyond theory. No. What is that which is in me and not yet theory? This is nothing. These are vulgar facts, like, I don't know, like what I do with my nails, like I have a little bit of a cold now. This is not important, I mean. I don't believe in some kind of private secret behind the public person. I have fears that I'm afraid from time to time that I'm really speaking the language. Yeah, sorry, of course, yes. And the mysterious. It's so embarrassing because... Yes. hope I did it properly. You see, I must be a kind of a house. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I don't have to lock it. You are here, of course. Okay, thank you. Thank you.